Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to hashtag Behind Relationship Goals.
I thought you were gonna intro us. I'm Bonez and this is Fofo.
Just a new way of introducing this podcast. And by the way, as you can already see, this podcast is sponsored by Chatime.
Oh, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up because we have some cream cheese drinks up in
Oh
here.
my God, you spilled!
Sorry!
Sa akin, kahit i-shake mo, walang mangyayari kasi paubos na siya.
Kasi anong nangyari, as soon as the drinks arrived, Fofo drank like 90% of the drink in like less than 5 minutes.
What can I do? Masarap talaga siya eh. What I have here is the cream cheese and peanut butter with banana. Ooh, my God. Sarap.
Yan ang favorite ni Fofo. But if you guys can see this BT21 summer mat and also this tote bag, you guys can get this from Chatime. All you have to do is to buy any drink on the menu of Chatime and you will automatically earn your Chatime loyalty points. You can redeem those points and get these cute BT21 merch.
We'll talk about that a bit more later on. But the topic for today's podcast is falling out of love.
No!
Dun dun dun! Iiyak na naman si Bonez.
No, I'm not gonna cry in this episode, hopefully.
Actually, matagal nang hindi umiiyak si Bonez. So for the viewers out there who regularly watch or catch the podcast, how long has it been since Bonez cried?
Strong ako, Fofo. Strong ako. Okay. So it's been a while since I've cried on the podcast and hopefully it does not happen. But you know that I'm very emotional when it comes to these kind of topics because if we talk about falling out of love, that's technically something I don't want to happen. Well, it's really something I would not want to happen in our relationship.
Okay, so Bonez, how would you like to start this episode? So what is the concept of falling out of love? So in your head right now, how do you feel and what do you understand and what do you think of when you hear that phrase?
Falling out of love feels like wala ka ng pakialam. Like it feels like you don't want this person in your life anymore. Like as dramatic as it sounds, that's what it feels like to me.
Okay, so for me, if I were to figuratively put how I feel about falling out of love, it's slowly rolling down a hill.
Okay,
And
so
then
literally falling.
And then one day, you just hit the bottom. With a very light thud, but a very profounding realization. Na
Okay.
wala na. No more fire. So I don't think falling out of love kasi is like falling off a cliff and you're so aware and heightened senses, heartbeat pumping. I think it's a slow descend and you don't know when it's going to end. And all of a sudden, after a light thud, you just come to this realization that, oh my God, this has ended.
Do you think that falling in love is kind of like the same as falling out of love? Because when I think about falling in love, you also have that rolling down like a hill or something, and then you come to a realization also na, I love this person. I have feelings for this person.
For falling in love kasi, for me, from my experience, I think there are many different ways of falling in love kasi.
Okay.
So falling out of love is not something that I've experienced yet. So...
Ay, di mo na-experience sa mga ex mo?
Well, not this concept. The concept that I think of when I say falling out of love is parang nangyari lang bigla. Like
Really?
similar to the metaphor that I told you.
Okay, so for example, there was like a crush. Let's just put it as simple as a crush. Di naman kailangan specifically an ex. A crush.
I like this. There seems to be some friction with our definition of falling out of love.
So, let's say you had a crush and super type na type mo tong taong to.
Uh-huh.
Is it the same as one day you just realize you don't like them anymore?
No. I'm thinking about this concept in a very, very specific environment. Na there's a couple who's truly in love with one another.
Like us?
And yes, like us. Of course,
Come closer to me.
Of course, I used us as an example. Over the years or over a long period of time, all of a sudden that just fades away.
I wonder when it comes to the concept of falling out of love, like, there has to be a lot of things that have happened. I don't feel like it's just something that just smacks you in the face. Tapos sasabihin mo, out of love ka na. Like, feeling ko there are a number of things that have to have happened for you to actually fall out of love with someone.
Okay,
Especially for a love like so strong.
Let's start very close to home. Do you think that it is possible for you and I to fall out of love? Do you think that is in the realm of possibility?
I think it's in the realm of possibility.
Oh, yabang mo ah. Gusto mo umiyak ako? Ano?
Pinapaiyak ko pala si Fofo. But I think, you always tell me that there's always a chance for something to happen. It would be unfair for us to say na hindi talaga mangyayari to. Kasi hindi natin alam what will happen in our lives or where life will take us. So, I think there's a possibility that it will happen. But it's also up to us if that possibility really is going to happen.
Bonez has changed.
Why?
You were a changed woman.
So what changed? What changed? Tell me.
Your answer, I don't think you would have answered that like maybe a year ago.
I think a
2
year
years
ago, I would have cried.
Yeah.
On the spot. Like, I wasn't even gonna think about it. All I would think about was, okay, break na kami ni Fofo in the future, iyak na ako. But now, yeah, that's something that I would think of. I think there is a possibility because just to go back a bit and storytell a bit, what a lot of parang older couples have told us before is that when you get married, it's not just about the love that you have for each other. Because as years go by, love and the definition of love that you might have will change. Because there's kids that might come into the picture, if that's what you want for your family. Your responsibilities will change as the years go by. You will change as a person as you get older. So the person that you married today will not be the same person that they are 20 years down the line. So, will your love also change? Sasabihin mo ba na porket bagong tao siya, ayaw mo na sa kanya? There are different factors that I feel come into play, especially when it comes to marriage. Because it's not just about love. Tulad din na sinabi ng priest natin sa atin, when we got married, you have to be prepared for the relationship to evolve.
Bakit ang dami mong naibibigay at naiaambag sa topic to, Bonez?
Ewan ko, kuts-kuts.
Matagal mo na bang pinag-iisipan to?
Ang dami kong pakuts ngayon, guys.
I'm like, I have something to say, pero ang daming gustong sabihin ni Bonez. So I'm like, yeah, go ahead, girl.
I think, for a change naman, ako naman yung puro salita ngayon. So ikaw, Fofo, like, how do you feel about this?
In terms of us?
Yeah.
Is
it a possibility?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very real possibility. I think it's extremely likely. Maybe tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I digress.
Like, what? Tomorrow? What?
So I digress. But no, I completely agree with Bonez. I think it's possible for us and for any couple to fall out of love with one another. But I think what's more interesting to explore here is the why and the how.
Yeah.
So we both agree that falling out of love is a concept that nobody is immune from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I gathered from you. So now, the more interesting thing to discuss and to try and figure out is how do people fall out of love, why, and then ano na after.
Okay.
So those three things
Okay.
are what I thought of because I'm the one who thought about this topic.
Yeah.
So as I was
Props
writing
to you, Fofo.
as I was writing this podcast title, I wasn't sure how Bonez was going to react, and now ang dami niyang sinasabi. I'm like, whoa, didn't expect it. Okay, so let's stay close to home pa rin.
Okay.
If ever we were to fall out of love with one another, how do you hypothesize or imagine that could possibly happen?
I think if it comes to a point that we aren't as open with each other or like communication stops somewhere in the relationship down the line, even if it's something na hindi nasabi. Alam mo yon, like I did something and hindi ko nasabi sa'yo and you found out like 10 years later.
Okay, Bonez is laughing because she realized what she said just happened a few days ago.
So
is this the beginning of our falling out of love?
Look at my eyes. Do you see a tear falling down right now? I do. It's the Chatime. The Chatime's coming out of my
Oh,
eyes.
you're crying! Natakot ka, Bones?
No.
Natakot si Bones. Bones was explaining a reason of how we could possibly fall out of love. She explained it and realized that what she was explaining just happened to us a week ago.
Oh, I officially cried on the podcast again. Darn it.
So funny.
Just to go back, Can you explain? I need to wipe my tears.
Explain what?
Okay, so we had this exact same scenario, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, did Fofo like slightly fall out of love with me at this point? Like, even if it was 5%, did you fall out of love with me?
So did I? I want to ask you that before I answer.
What? I'm asking you now. Did
No,
you?
what do you think? I want you to think about it right now. Because I actually gave you that answer.
I think Fofo was really disappointed in me at like when we had this discussion. I actually don't know what I should answer to that, or like what my answer is to
Okay,
this.
so let me help you out. So just to set the table for everyone and make it clear what exactly happened. So maybe a week ago, Bonezi and I found out something about her that wasn't communicated to me. And it was
Yeah.
only communicated to me 10 years later, or many, many years later. And I think for other people, they may find it deceptive. I think some people could see it that way. Oh, you were deceptive, or you weren't truthful, or Bonezi was not completely honest with me.
Yeah.
And I saw it that way to a certain extent, but I didn't choose to stick to that opinion. I chose to see it in the sense na all of us have our flaws, and there are possibly a couple of things that I have not been able to tell you because maybe I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
Diba? We want to be honest to someone, but we can't remember all these honest things right away. Sometimes it takes time, it takes years, it takes a trigger for us to...
Which happened to us.
Which happened to us. There was a trigger.
Yeah.
And after that trigger, there was a realization. So I thought about it from the point of view where, you know what, Bonezi? Okay, we found out about this. It sucks that it took this long. But am I gonna focus on the part na, ang tagal naman bago mo nasabi sa akin to? Or ang tagal naman bago mo na-realize or bago ka naging aware sa mga ganitong bagay na pinaggagawan mo dati pa?
Oh, na hindi ko alam.
Na hindi
ginagawa
niya
ko
alam.
pa.
Okay, but ignorance is never an excuse, right?
Of course.
So how I saw it was, you know what? I've known you for 10 years, so there's cachet in that. There's value in that. So are you going to use this to make yourself a better person?
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. Because what if I was in your boat? What if 5 years from now I'm in your shoes? Then I would like you to see me as someone na, yeah, you know what, Fofo? It sucks that we realized this or we only found this out now, but let's make this a point for you to make yourself a better person.
Yeah. And we did have a slightly similar conversation where the tables were turned. I don't know if you remember this, but you were honest to me about one thing, and then I was in your shoes and you were in mine.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was a moment of honesty for the both of us in our relationship. And
I do remember this.
yes. So it was also a turning point for us, and it was up to me to decide what I was going to do with this information. The same with Mikael a week ago when we had different information about me as a person and how I was as a person 10 years back. So to move forward with, this point in our conversation, I really think it's about what you do with your knowledge, or what you do with what you know about your partner, the situation, and for you to talk over it. So for us, I think a turning point na magiging falling out of love tayo sa isa't isa is when we stop talking about these things. When we stop discussing and we stop trying to see, okay, what is best for us in our relationship. Because if we shove it under the rug, that's when things just stay there and they go stale and moldy.
Okay, so we've made that clear, that situation. We've told this story, so let us know your thoughts in the comment section. But now I'd like to move on to another aspect of falling out of love.
Okay.
And this is, I think for some people, we all have different personalities. Do you believe that some people are naturally monogamous and naturally polygamous? So monogamous meaning that they're in a relationship with just one person. And polygamous meaning that they can be in relationships with multiple people, sometimes simultaneously, other times consecutively, like one after the other. There are billions of people in the world. For sure, there are people who have different views and different opinions.
Yeah, definitely.
So I could imagine that there could be people that constantly fall in love genuinely and genuinely just fall out of love also right away.
Yeah.
After a few years, maybe after a decade. So parang madami silang napapagdaanan ng mga tao, ng mga partners.
Relationships, yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Like, what happens there?
For me, it's really about which path you want to take. Like, do you want to stick to one person for the rest of your life and grow with them and learn with them? Or do you want to be with different people? Do you want to learn from different people? And, there are pros and cons to both kinds of relationships. And this is also something that we have discussed in previous episodes, wherein we talked about, hypothetically speaking, what if we were in an open relationship? How would that be for us? And what kind of pros and cons would we get from this? And we discussed this when we were boyfriend and girlfriend pala. And at the end of the conversation, what we decided was, okay, tayo as, boyfriend and girlfriend, as, people that want to be in a long-term relationship, we decided that we want to be in a relationship na tayong dalawa lang. Because that is the kind of romantic relationship that we want. And why is that? Can you tell the viewers why that is what we chose?
No, I don't know why.
You don't know?
Why?
You don't remember?
No, why?
I mean, we're growing old together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're learning with each other as we grow older throughout the years. Which is something that if you were in, I guess, in a multiple relationship kind of thing, you wouldn't have that growing up together kind of thing with them. Because you would meet them at different points in your life.
Yes.
So this is something that we wanted for our relationship.
We did.
Diba? Because there was a possibility that, okay, what if, we dated other people, diba? What if we went just hang out with other people? Was that something that we were open to? And we decided na it wasn't, because we didn't want to be romantically involved with others.
Okay, so the reason, Bonizia, I wasn't able to answer you was because there was a thought in my head.
Okay.
And this thought in my head is that most people don't really know if they're monogamous or polygamous. They don't automatically know na once they hit 18 years old, oh, I like having many partners. Or, oh, I like being with just one person.
Yeah.
This is something you gain through experience. And I think that this choice also changes for some people over points in their life.
And I think it's also circumstance then.
It's also circumstance. So I was just thinking that obviously you and I, we see each other as growing old together.
Yeah.
But as we already mentioned at the start of this podcast episode, it's not out of the realm of possibility that one of us suddenly becomes polygamous and decides na, oh, okay, I'm done with this relationship. We've made the most out of it. I would like to move on to another partner.
Ah, talaga?
Right?
Hindi ko naisip yun.
Diba? Pero, I mean, when you think about it, parang pwedeng mangyari yun, diba?
Pwede.
It can I've seen it. We've seen it happen. Titos and titas, friends, moms and dads of friends.
My family.
So, I think yun yung pinakamasaklap dun. So, people might say now na, yeah, sige, I think I'm gonna look for someone who's into what I'm into. So, if I just want the one, I'm gonna look for someone who's looking for the one as well.
Yeah.
And as I stress, ang masaklap nga dyan is that people change. Things change. And as you go through life and you take in these experiences, they affect you in ways that honestly you can't really predict. You can say, I control my life. I control my decisions. Yes, to a certain extent, but experiences also change you and you can't completely control and dictate the experiences you go through.
This is turning out to be a very interesting podcast topic, but let's take a little break from our chika. So guys, kung natatakam kayo sa drinks namin dito from Chatime, make sure to check them out on Facebook and Instagram. That is Chatime Philippines, and you can also order from them in-store or through your favorite delivery apps.
And whenever you buy your favorite Chatime drinks, you earn Chatime loyalty points, which you can use to get BT21 merchandise.
Woohoo.
Like this one.
And with that, we're back to the podcast.
And now I want to ask Bonizzi. So we've talked about hypothetical situations of falling out of love for you and me, for other people. Now let's get into more real life situations.
Okay.
Okay, let's use us because it's always easier. It's always easier if we use us for the viewers, right?
Easier ba para sa atin? Hindi ko alam
So if we fall out of love, how does that happen? So technically speaking, here in the Philippines, there's no divorce.
Yeah.
What are the options available to you and how can people do it? Sige, even if we don't use us, how can a Filipino couple do it, right? Like, how does that happen? They have many options. One is to stay in the marriage, stay in the relationship, regardless if they both acknowledge that one person or two people have fallen out of love.
Okay.
There is annulment, which people have done. There's separation, which others have done. So I don't know, like, what are the difficulties and intricacies when a situation and an emotion like this arises?
You know, it's so difficult because one, we're not, therapists, diba? And we're not, counselors or anything.
Yeah, so just
But
as us.
As us. Like, if for example, this happened to the both of us, knock on wood, like,
There's no wood.
There's no real wood, but, please knock on wood for me. So if this did happen, knock on wood for me, guys. I think the best case scenario would, try to see the situation from, the outside. Talk to a professional. I think that would be something that would be good for us if we can't talk about it or discuss it ourselves. Because what if the relationship is so strained na hindi tayo makapag-usap ng tama? Diba? It's always good to have somebody on the outside say, okay, this is what's happening. These are your options. It's up to you guys what you want to do with it. So I think looking for help and talking to a counselor is always a good step, especially if you want the relationship to work. If you see na, okay, this is a relationship that I cherish, that I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, we need to make an effort. Because I don't believe na just because something happened, itatapon mo lang lahat. I think if there's a chance to save it, work on it. And then you can see from there, okay, is this actually going to work, or are we going to move on with the rest of our lives?
Okay, I have an answer.
Okay.
I would like to focus on you and me because I feel it difficult to talk for others.
No, it's definitely difficult to talk for others because we're all in like different situations.
Yes, para mas solid yung kwentuhan natin if we can root it in something that's more real, and the realest thing here is you and me.
Yeah.
For you and me, if one of us or both of us were to fall out of love, I think there are two things that I would focus on. The first thing is something that we've discussed before, wherein you don't throw away the past.
Yeah.
Meaning you recognize and you acknowledge that if it was amazing, then it was amazing. Some people, when they break up or when there's a time to end something in their life, be it a relationship, a career, there's a tendency sometimes to look at all the time spent during those times as negative na, I wasn't very happy anyway. Wala yun, di yun maganda. Because sayang naman yung buhay mo. Diba? Literally, sayang, you are discrediting the life that you lived and the years and the amount of time and effort and emotion that you spent with that person or with that career or whatever it is you're breaking up with or ending with. So I think that would be very important. And I always tell, my siblings and my cousins who are going through a breakup na, dude, just don't be vengeful and spiteful of what you went through. Because kahit ako, sinasabi ko sa kanila, when I would see you guys together, masaya kayo eh.
Yeah.
So remember that. Don't make this one blip, this one point in that long relationship taint everything that happened. And the second thing that I would do is, if we find out and finally agree that there is a falling out of love na naganap, I would be stress averse. And what do I mean by that? Let's not make it an explosive fight or an explosive argument. Like you and me, Bonizi, when we go through things, we try to take a step back. Okay, what's the best way to move forward?
Yeah.
And to proceed and still make us better people. Because I think that in a super highly emotional and very charged environment, such as a separation or a breakup, I think there is always a tendency to maybe fight, have an explosive argument, or have negative words and vibes exchanged. And that's something that I would like to be able to avoid. Because it doesn't make us better people. It doesn't make anybody better people. We acknowledge what had happened, and to move on, we would like to move on in the best way possible rather than dragging each other down.
I also think it's good to have a mindful conversation with each other. I say mindful because a lot of times when couples have, I guess, fights or arguments, it tends to be like sumbatan. Bakit ka kasi ganyan dati?
Yeah.
Like, you could have easily told me this, Fofo, the other day na, bakit ganyan ka? O bakit yun
That's
yung ginawa
true.
mo? But Fofo was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about this. Bonizi, you did this thing years back. Okay, when we were in a new relationship. And now you just realized that you did this thing. Why did you do it? And then at that moment, I wanted to just cry and burst out saying, I don't know, like, it was stupid, like, and get emotional. But I decided to take a step back. I told Fofo that, you know what, Fofo, I don't remember what happened. And, we had to talk about it. And Fofo was pretty upset the rest of the night, until the next day. But we did have a good conversation over it. And we finally came to the point now, okay, let's just take this experience with us and,
I got to that point.
Fofo got to that point when he said, Bonizi, take this experience with you. And it's up to you what you want to do with it. Do you want to be a better person? Is this something that you think you're going to do again? Are you going to be mindful if you're put in this situation again? So I would say that our conversations and our arguments have matured quite a lot throughout the years, especially me. Like, I feel like I've matured more. I've been able to think about what I want to say more to you and communicate that to you without, blanking out and just staring at you.
True.
So to wrap up this podcast, Fofo, I hope that we don't fall out of love with each other.
It's nice that you were trying to wrap this up, but I realized something, especially when you just said that I hope we don't fall out of love with one another. And I think that is an irrational fear of a lot of people. And sorry, when I say irrational fear, I say irrational in the sense na you do not control what happens in the future, technically. You don't completely control it.
Okay.
Right? We don't know what happens in the future. If we controlled the future completely, edi ang galing naman natin.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't have complete control over our futures. So to say na and be completely scared and be frozen and paralyzed by our fears of what could possibly happen or possibly not happen, I think is irrational. And I think the most rational thing to do in this case would be to enjoy every single moment in the present.
Okay, so to wrap this up, I want to say, Fofo, I love you very much. And as the days go by, I enjoy my company with you and being married to you and being your wife. So for now, I love you. For now. In the future. For now.
In the future, we do not know.
I don't know. So.
But yeah, no, but there, that was my.
And yeah.
That was what I thought.
Yeah.
Didn't you like that?
I like that. So I just wanted to rephrase my wrapping up statement na we are going to enjoy as much as we can together and learn from each other as the days go by.
And I agree with that. Living in the present, I think, is the best decision that anybody can make.
Living in the present rather than being scared about the future.
Or regretting your past.
And
with that, we would like to remind everyone that this podcast episode is sponsored by Chatime. And whenever you buy your favorite Chatime products, you get Chatime loyalty points, which you can use to buy your favorite BT21 merch, just like this lovely
beach mat. So guys, make sure that you follow Chatime Philippines on Instagram and on Facebook. And also, don't forget that you can also send us emails at behindrelationshipgoals@gmail.com. We'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm Bonez, and this is Fofo. Bye!